would stop doing that, because we really have a mic, okay? Thank you all for gathering here at the last minute. If folks, I know the ground's wet, if folks who have good knees could even like do this so the people in the back can hear. This is a people's event, so there will be no elevated stage. All right. We want to thank y'all for coming, and I want to now introduce a really special person who just happened to be in town and wanted to stop by and see what was happening with the occupation. Dr. Cornel West!
What an honor and a blessing for me to be here in Seattle. Oh yes, I can feel the spirit of Jimi Hendrix all shot through this face. Pearl Jam is here in spirit, is that right? I want to salute your courage. I want to salute your vision. I want to salute your fortitude. I want to salute your determination that this Occupy movement that people had thought weeks ago would go away. Here you are, still here in the rain, strong as ever, standing with style, with deep, deep love in your heart. That I am so blessed to be a small part of the Occupy movement. We got 1,000 different sites around the world, 82 countries, 5 continents, including Seattle, Washington. Oh yes. And all we tried to do is embody and enact a deep democratic awakening. With those Sly Stone called everyday people, straighten their backs up, they're going somewhere, because folk can't ride your back unless it's bent. And when you take a stand the way Sly Stone said, stand, in the end you'll still be you. Yes. One who's done all the things you set out to do, raising your voice. So many of us were tired of being echoes. We wanted to raise our voices, our individual voices, our collective voices. For what? Out of the deep love we have for poor people, working people, people of color, women, our gay brothers, our lesbian sisters, all of those who have been dehumanized, pushed to the margins, and we say, yes, it is a love movement. It's a love movement. It's what John Coltrane called a love supreme. And when you have a love supreme, you stand in the rain day in and day out. You hold on together, stick together. Why? Because in the end, we don't hang together, we hang separately. Because let's just be honest about this. Anytime you talk about corporate greed, you're talking about some very deep interests. And you see the panic already setting in among the oligarchs and the hysteria setting in among the plutocrats, and say, these folk not serious, this is just a fad. Oh, really? Really? No. We keep our eyes, even in the rain, on the precious children. You know, in America, 42% of our precious children of all colors live either in or near poverty, in the richest nation in the history of the world. That's a moral disgrace. It's an ethical obscenity. We stand for the children. We don't care what color they are. We don't care what culture they are. They are precious. They are priceless. And yes, we stand for the elderly. We stand for the widow. We stand for the orphan. We stand for working people who have been pushed against the wall in the last 30 years. This class war against poor and working people, pushing folk against the wall as if somehow they're just marginal utilities in a profit margin analysis. No, those are human beings there, losing their houses, jobs unavailable, wages stagnating, with profits at the top, breaking records year in and year out. And when they get in trouble, even though they're hard on folk and welfare on below, they get the corporate welfare from the top. Oh yes, they call it corporate socialism. That's what it is. That's what it is. Taxpayers' money supporting the oligarchs when they get in trouble. Talking to me about personal responsibility. I see Brother Jamal on the block gets caught with a crack bag, gets 7 years. Nobody gone to jail given the criminal activity that's been going on Wall Street in the last 10, 15 years. Not one person gone to jail, no investigation, no prosecution. They say, oh, Brother West, you just talking about class war. I didn't start it. We didn't start it. Well, all. We find ourselves caught in it. And yet we have the spiritual and the moral maturity to say it's precisely because we love the people that we hate injustice. Oh yes, when you love folk, you can't stand the fact that they're being treated unfairly. You loathe the fact they're being treated unjustly. It's not about hating anybody, it's about hating a system that is rigged in such a way that the wealth goes to the top and working and poor people pushed aside and somehow told us to make it on their own. We are tired of it. We're tired of being tired of it. We stand up in the rain, in the snow, in the sun. We stand together. And as we move step by step, we let folk know that we in it in the long run. We in it in the long run. Oh yes. Oh yes, I just got off the plane and came straight here. I was in Germany to occupy Amsterdam. Tomorrow's occupy Oakland. Oh yes, occupy Oakland. I know you all been into some tense struggles, but you know what's been going on in Oakland, right?
Oaktown. Woo!
I called my mama and said, "Pray for me."
Oaktown.
That's what's wonderful about us. You see, we got some religious folk like myself.
Amen.
We got prophetic Baptists, prophetic Mormons, prophetic Jewish brothers and sisters, prophetic Buddhists, prophetic Hindu. We got our progressive atheistic brothers and sisters, progressive agnostic brothers and sisters. Why? Because we're focused on justice. We focus on fighting corporate greed and wealth inequality and the role of big money in politics and arbitrary military power and arbitrary police power linked to the prison industrial complex, disproportionately black, disproportionately brown, disproportionately red. Why? Because we are precious too. And in America, we have to be honest and candid about speaking passionately about embracing each other across various lines. That's the only way we're going to have impact. Because the people at the top who are fearful of what we're doing, they want to divide and conquer us. Oh yes, they like to see us turn on each other. They like to cultivate all the different tensions and the frictions and so forth. Which, of course, there's always tensions and frictions. People are people. But this is a new day. The conservative era is coming to a close. The Washington consensus is coming to a close. The idolizing of markets is coming to a close. Obsession with the world of the rich and famous coming to a close. Obsession with celebrities who are too hollow and shallow and don't want to take a stand. No longer the model for the younger generation. We say no. We like Sankofa Bird. We got to look back in order to look forward. So we look back and see Martin King. We look back and see Rabbi Abraham Joshua Hester. We look back and see Dorothy Day. We look back and see Stokely Carmichael. We look back and see Tom Hayden. We look back and see John Coltrane. And be moving forward. And the beautiful thing about someone like myself, because you can see I'm old school. I'm old school. I mean, I like Lupe Fiasco and some of the young folk, but I'm old school. And to see the young brothers and sisters of all colors coming together and actually taking this central role. We know it's a leaderless movement and a leaderful movement, but let's be honest about it. It's the young brothers and sisters of all colors who have been at the center of it. Is that right, my dear sister AFT? My dear AFT sister, isn't that the truth? Isn't that a beautiful thing to see the young folk? Oh, I'm telling you.
That's right.
And the old freedom fighters smile from the grave. They haven't forgot about courage. They haven't forgot about vision. They haven't forgot about empathy. They haven't forgot about love and compassion. They haven't forgot about organizing and mobilizing. And they haven't forgot that you can change the world and make the future better if you remain together. That's what's so beautiful. That's why I'm so glad to be here. Thank you all so very much for just allowing me to come through. Occupy Seattle! Occupy Seattle, oh yes! Let the world know the movement goes on. questions. We like call and response. We like dialogue. We like a little antiphonal relation. Yes, we got a question, my dear sister.
How was it when you got arrested at the Supreme Court a couple weeks ago? How
It
did
was
they
a
treat you?
it was a sublime experience when I was arrested. Because you know there's actually freedom in the handcuffs.
Yes, there's
Just like Mumia Abu-Jamal is one of the freest men in America, been on death row for almost 30 years. See the dialectic that I'm talking about? There's freedom in the handcuffs. And they put the shackles on the ankles too. I couldn't break dance, but I still felt free. Because I knew I was standing up for something.
Yes.
Standing up for something. And if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything.
That's it.
Now, when we went in, that was a fascinating experience, as you can imagine. We got 22 of us in one cell. And we got a lot of brothers and sisters. This is Chocolate City, this is Washington, D.C. And there's some brothers in there who didn't have both paddles in the water. But you had a lot of mental illness. And we love our mentally ill brothers and sisters.
Yeah.
But you had a lot of mentally ill brothers and sisters. So when I walked in, brother looked at me and said, Brother West, I just want you to know, I am the mayor of Washington, D.C. I said, that's cool with me, brother, that's fine. He said, I'm going to make you the honorary deputy mayor. I said, that's cool too, we work together. And within 3 hours, we ended up having a rich dialogue talking about why many of us were in jail voluntarily and why many of them were in jail involuntarily. And we created the bonds that our common humanity came to the surface in that cell. Of course, it was 25 hours and they changed us to various cells in that regard. But it was a beautiful thing. And in Harlem, when we got arrested with stop and frisk, you all know about stop and frisk policies in New York City. 700,000 young people have been stopped and frisked. Only 4% of them arrested, 87% black and brown. And they say, oh no, it has nothing to do with race. Yes, and I'm a star in the National Hockey League. I ain't got nothing against hockey, but you know I'm not a National Hockey League kind of player. The NBA, that's something else. But there was that sense of solidarity in the cell that made a big difference. And what is so magnificent is there has been thousands of folk who have gone to jail since September 17th, just in America, let alone around the world. And anytime you make that kind of move, you let folk know you serious. That's what's so beautiful about it.
How do we get the media to carry the truth instead of the corporate lies?
Yeah, how do we get the media to tell the truth rather than corporate lies?
Become the media.
Yeah, I'll tell you that. The corporate media produces clever gimmicks of mass distraction. They continually downplay the truth. And what do we mean by the truth? Well, the condition of truth is to allow suffering to speak. There is no truth in your life, in your family, in your community, in the nation, in the world, unless the voices of suffering are heard. That's why they have a business page in the newspaper, not a labor page. If you really want to talk about the suffering and hear the truth in America, then let's have a page on the prison industrial complex. Let's have a page on poor children. Where are their voices? Let's have a page on working people. Let's have a page on the sisters dealing with cowardly brothers engaged in domestic violence. Let's have a page on our gay brothers and lesbian sisters and others who get spit on because they choose a sexual orientation. That's the kind of page we need to have. We're going to talk about truth. But that's what the Occupy movement is all about. We want a space in America, given all the mendacity and mediocrity and mean-spiritedness, that allows suffering to speak, so that when we smile, it's connected with our struggle against that suffering. And so how do we do that? You have alternative media. Thank God for Sister Amy Goodman. Oh, Sister Amy, we love her. We love her. Thank God for Brother Tavis Smiley. We love the brother. Oh yes, we got some alternative. I'm sure in Seattle you all have. You got alternative media right there. You got it right there.
I got it going right now. you.
Absolutely.
I had a question.
Yes, good question.
Last night, the Seattle Police Department engaged in some rather brutal tactics against Occupy Seattle, to include pepper spraying an 84-year-old woman, a pregnant woman, and 2 members of the clergy. Do you have a message for our political leaders who would use police as tools of oppression against the 99%?
I would say they ought to be ashamed of themselves. And in fact, we need accountability, we need answerability, and they need to take responsibility for engaging in that kind of obscene, immoral activity.
Amen.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes, my brother.
So this has been going on for a long time in Seattle, right? And we have our, quote, Office of Professional Accountability.
Oh, yeah, repeat the question. I'm sorry about that. Oh, come on now.
By the way, I have a shout out to you from Tom Harden. He's going to be here, and he said, "Hello, give my regards." Okay. We love you, Dr. West. So we have this problem with police accountability all over the country, right? And they keep telling us that we have a civilian police review board here, which does nothing to bring about justice in our community. Our brother, a Native American woodcarver, was killed here, John T. Williams, okay? He was executed by a police officer. That police officer is not being tried. He's not being charged with any criminal charges at all. So what can we do as citizens to make sure that our city council and our mayor and our police departments give us a voice and give us accountability? Because it's not happening, and no matter how hard we try, no matter how many times we go to the ACLU and to the city, it never happens.
No, I hear you.
Wall Street!
Occupy!
Well, I appreciate that question. Yeah, I mean, it is difficult because so often the way the system is designed that it doesn't provide the kind of space for justice to be done. And yet at the same time, I do want to salute the A&L, the libertarians who are fighting what is it you mentioned? The ACLU. They play a very important role. They try to create some wiggle space to at least keep the issue visible so it comes to the surface. But they know they're cutting against the grain. I think we need more community organizations to keep the issue alive.
So the Seattle Police Department is under Department of Justice investigation right now for racial profiling and excessive use of force. Right now.
Is that right? From the Washington, D.C.?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh. It's a federal investigation. That can be a positive thing because that generates tremendous visibility. I just wish that my dear brother Eric Holder were more vigilant about these kinds of things. If he was as vigilant about police brutality as he's vigilant against WikiLeaks, he'd be in good shape, wouldn't he?
Free Bradley Manning!
Oh, yes, they got fired up on WikiLeaks, didn't they? Yes, another question. Come right on.
So, you mentioned love, and what I want to emphasize, what I want to ask is, when you say love, are you phrasing like U.E.P. Newton said, love for the people? When we talk about love for the people, does it mean we'll fight, we'll kill and die for our people, or Care Bear, Donnie is love? I just want to clarify that.
Oh, no, I hear you. Don't. The Care Bear's got something going on there. No, I say that because I got a daughter and I read Care Bears too, just keep that compassion flowing. Like Charlotte's Web, you know what I mean? You got that compassion going. Is that right, my sister? No, but when I talk about love, I'm talking about the most difficult, the most dangerous, the most subversive force in the world. Because when you're talking about love, it means you have a steadfast commitment to the well-being of others, and you're willing to do what it takes to ensure that their humanity is always affirmed. Always affirmed. That's what I mean by love supreme. When John Coltrane talking about love supreme, he's just not playing the saxophone. He's talking about his heart, his mind, his soul is a steadfast commitment to make sure that the well-being of all of humanity is elevated, and the best he can do is play his horn, just as the best we can do is occupy at the moment. Now it shifts from context to context. It shifts from context to context. Somebody like Martin Luther King Jr., Desmond Tutu, They are radical pacifists. So love for them always takes the form of nonviolence. Our Quaker brothers and sisters have the same tradition. It's a great and it's a grand tradition. Now, I happen to be a Christian, but I'm not a pacifist. So I believe in just war. I would have fought against Hitler. Hitler's a gangster. He's trying to dominate the world. I got to throw down. I would have fought against apartheid in South Africa with Nelson Mandela. Still out of love, though. Still out of love. So you see how the love has different traditions. It's manifest in different ways. A rich pacifist tradition and a tradition under which, under certain circumstances, you have to defend yourself, and under other circumstances, you fight in the context of serious engagement.
Dr. West?
Yes, question.
I'm wondering.
Oh, come on here to this. Give our sister a hand, though. AFT. Absolutely.
I'm just wondering if you have a message for both the president and the chancellor of the Central and Seattle Community Colleges District in light of the opposition to the occupation.
There's opposition from the...
Yes, our administration wants them gone.
Oh, yeah. No, but we here. We're here. And it's just like with, Mayor Bloomberg in New York. They come up with different strategies. We still here. We might not be in the exact same space all the time, but we still here. We're not going anywhere. And in the end, as has been said so eloquently by so many of the other brothers and sisters in the Occupy movement, even if you're able to evict a particular group at the moment, you can never evict a vision, you can never evict an idea, you can never evict a commitment that they're going to be manifest one way or the other. Yes. There's a question way in the back there.
I have a question for this gentleman.
Oh, okay, yeah, just come right on up. Okay.
I just want to say first, it's been a pleasure to hear you speak so far, sir.
Oh, thank you. But you speaking so they can hear you.
I will. The main criticism of the Occupy movement has been that there's no clear goal, and some people it's getting money out of politics, and sometimes there's a socialist agenda. I just want to know from you, what should we want to achieve? What does the best possible America look like? Or does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. See, I think anytime you're talking about a movement, especially a movement in its early stages, the last thing you want to do is zero in on just one or two demands. That what we want to do, we want to change the whole ethos of the nation, the whole ethos of the world, and say, you know what, when you think about politics, you ought to think about the connection between public interest and the weak and the vulnerable. For so long, public interest has been hijacked by oligarchs and plutocrats at the top. When we talk about the military-industrial complex, why is there no focus on the innocent civilians who are killed every day with the drones dropping bombs? Well, that's a concern with the weak and the vulnerable. It's wrong. It's immoral.
Thank you.
At the same time, in relation to the Wall Street oligarchic plutocratic complex, yes, we need to talk seriously about fundamental democratic accountability of oligarchs at the top. There's a whole host of demands around that issue. But we want to talk about corporate greed in the prison industrial complex. We want to talk about the role of prisons being privatized and put on Wall Street, on the stock market. And we want to talk about the corporate media multiplex and the ways in which it truncates the dialogue and keeps it so narrow that we get tired of having to choose between mean-spirited Republicans and spineless Democrats. Then we want to talk about campaign reform, the relation of the Supreme Court and its decisions to corporations as persons, using the 14th Amendment, which was written for what? for 4.2 million ex-black slaves in America who had their personhood affirmed by the 14th Amendment, now appropriated 100-something years later over and over again by corporations saying they're a person, they have the same rights as individuals. All of these issues are connected, and we need a systemic analysis that always makes these connections, and it's not just reducible to one demand so the newspapers would be able to focus on something. You see what I mean? But all of it's coming for the various reasons. Now, indeed, as it continues to grow, various kind of demands may surface at the moment more so than others. But you don't want just that one or two demands. Where's the brother asked that question? Where'd he go? You see what I mean? You don't want just that one or two demands to say that's all that we are about. No, it's much more complicated than that. We got ecological catastrophe impending. They got pipelines trying to be created throughout from Canada all the way down to the Gulf of Mexico, stripping the planet, stripping nature. Can nature speak? Not like us, but nature does speak back. When you violate nature, it does speak in its own way, in its own language. So this talk about demand for me is something that the mainstream press, I am deep suspicion. Very deep indeed. We got a question. Yes, come from the right.
Hi.
Yeah, how you doing there? Good to see you.
So my question is, what are the differences and similarities you see between the Patriot Act and Contero Pro in the 60s in terms of suppressing movements and isolating individuals?
Yes, I heard that question. Ooh, you all got some wonderful questions here. What is the relation between COINTELPRO? There's a new movie out on J. Edgar Hoover. I think Brother Leonardo's in it, right?
Yeah.
Now, J. Edgar Hoover goes all the way back to 1916, to the Palmer Rage.
I remember the Palmer Rage.
Remember the Palmer Rage, 1916, when socialist mayors of Oklahoma City, the socialist mayors in Milwaukee were pushed out, exported, but deported. All the way through the 1960s, Martin Luther King Jr., every day of his life under FBI surveillance since January 1956. Black Panther Party, FBI surveillance, SDS, FBI surveillance. And I'm sure we got some FBI brothers and sisters here. Hello. Good to see you, good to see you. Yeah, that's right. We free, we telling the truth. And I'm a Christian, so I love you, but watch out. But the point is that anytime ordinary people come together, you're going to have various kinds of strategies deployed by the powers that be, including paid informants, including infiltrators, and so on and so forth. It's a given. And anytime you tell the truth about injustice, and especially anytime you talk about bringing white brothers and sisters, black brothers and sisters, brown brothers and sisters, let us never forget our precious red brothers and sisters, and our Asian yellow brothers. Anytime you get people talking about a movement, bringing all those folk about, somebody gonna get killed. But some of us are ready to die. That's all right. I got my cemetery clothes on every day. I'm comfort ready. Now that's not true for everybody. But some folk got to be ready to die. It's just a fact. The powers that be are serious. They'll crush you like a cockroach. Why? Because so much is at stake. But you know what? Many of us are willing to fight like tigers. Because justice is at stake. And the children and the elderly and the orphan and the widows are at stake. So COINTELPRO has a long history. Patriotic Act already in place for violation of rights, invasion of privacy, wiretapping that goes on all the time. And my God, let us not downplay the role of our brown brothers and sisters here, given these deeply racist and autocratic immigration policies.
Yes.
There was 1 million of our brothers and sisters in the immigration movement that marched last May. That's a whole lot of folk.
That's right. Yes.
That's a whole lot of folk. That can you imagine? You get so many of the brown brothers and sisters coming together, and you get the black brothers and sisters coming with the hood, coming out of the hood. So, oh Lord, I've been suspicious of these white brothers and sisters for a long time, but you know what? They are serious. And lo and behold, we got a new context now where I see that they affirm my humanity and concern about my situation. Then they start getting calls from Egypt and say, oh, you know, they didn't think we'd be able to do anything, but we toppled the tyrant who the United States supported for 30 years. Then get a call from Tunisia. Then you get a call from Amsterdam, a call from London. And they say, oh my God, we got a serious movement on our hands. We got to unleash all the infiltrators that we can. And what else will they do? They'll try to co-opt the leaders. We'll give you a television show. We'll give you access to the top. We might even invite you to the White House where you can have a beer summit. Maybe two you're off. And one of the reasons why it's so very important to look back. You see, when you look back at somebody like Martin King, what was it about Martin that moved us? So it wasn't that we all politically agreed with the brother or ideologically agreed with the brother, but what was it? He was never up for sale. He never caved in. He never sold out. He never gave up. That's called integrity. So whether you agree with him on every issue, one thing you knew was whatever house he went into, it could be a White House, a crack house, your mama's house, he was going to come out with integrity. But that's exactly what a leaderless, leaderful movement is all about. Each and every one of us have to aspire to that same kind of integrity. I didn't say perfection, integrity.
Yeah.
And when you have that, yes, some will be crushed, some will be killed, some will be lied on, but you can't kill all of us.
That's right.
You can't lie on all of us in such a way that we accept it. And you can't crush all of us at the same time. And the ones that do get crushed, we shall forever remember them. Because their spirit is with us as we move forward. I know that's a long answer to that question. But that's a serious question. All right, my dear.
Thank you, Dr. West.
Thank you so much.
I wanted to expound a little bit on Mark's representing the wondrous, awesome Tom Hartman out in Washington, D.C., giving a shout out to you. And he mentioned about an hour ago on the air that you and he had co-chaired some panels and other things at the Fighting Bob Follett Fest in Wisconsin. And I would very much like for you to expound a bit on your being exposed to the people in Madison and around Wisconsin, and what the impact of their quiet but determined resolve not to say no. I mean, they were always saying, yes, we will change things, but we will do it peacefully, we will do it forthrightly with integrity, and just show the sham of the corruption that is trying to dissolve and destroy our democracy. And I really appreciate your comments.
Yeah, my God, you said it so eloquently. I just want to say ditto and affirm it. Of course, we want to salute Brother Tom, but there's no doubt that the struggle of our brothers and sisters in Wisconsin played an important role as one of the catalysts for the kind of deep democratic awakening that we're talking about. It was heroic, it was sustained. They brought in a variety of different organizations, from labor movements, community organizations. They had prophetic religious institutions. They had professors. They had pharmacists. They had firemen. I mean, it was a huge alliance and coalition. There's no doubt about that.
And it was so affirmative.
And it was affirmative, absolutely, and nonviolent. And nonviolent.
So fighting means many things.
Fighting means a whole host of things.
The way of approaching things is perhaps more commendable than sheer mindless violence.
Oh no, mindless violence is always to be rejected. Always to be rejected.
Thank you.
Definitely, very much so. As I said before, when we talked about the nonviolent movement of Martin King, let's say, versus the just war theory that I was associating myself with, it's only under very, very distinctive circumstances that one even think about being violent. Now, in my own particular case, I mean, somebody messed with my mama, I'm not nonviolent. That's why I talk about I fight against Hitler. Hitler's going to be difficult in terms of being nonviolent. The leaders of apartheid in South Africa are going to be difficult in terms of it. Now, we're nowhere near that, but I'm just talking about the theory of it. But we can come together and have a discussion and dialogue and critical exchange about it, because any kind of movement like Occupy movement is going to have a variety of different voices and viewpoints and visions. Absolutely. We got some anarchist brothers and sisters here. Oh yeah, I love my anarchist brothers and sisters. I'm not an anarchist, but I learn a whole lot from them. Oh yeah. We've got some socialist brothers and sisters here. Oh yes, learn a whole lot from my dear socialist brothers and sisters. We got some communists. We got the progressives who believe in the mixed economy and the welfare state. Hey, that's fine. We all still together. We got overlap. We might even have some Republicans stumbling by.
One was arrested in Portland.
One was arrested in Portland.
One was arrested, an 81-year-old man who was arrested in Portland, who came down to make sure that police brutality didn't happen, was brutalized by police, and when he was interviewed the next day, he said, "I'd do it again."
He would do it again. No, I mean, you take a brother like Ron Paul. Now, Ron Paul, he got a lot of challenges. But he has the courage to stand right there with the mediocre Republican candidates and say, America is an empire. Yeah. He's right about that. So the government's corrupt. He's right about that. Then he says, do away with most of government. He's dead wrong about that. But we got overlap. You see what I mean? And that's what movements are. You don't want just a mono-dimensional movement of one particular orientation or party line and all this other mess. We got to be jazz-like. Look at Duke Ellington's band. What is distinctive about Duke Ellington's band? He's one voice among others. Hit it, Johnny Hodges, take it over. Hit it, Gonzalez, take it over. Sometimes Gonzalez might play for 18 minutes, sometimes he play for 2 minutes, depends on what kind of mood he's in. And Duke is supposed to be head, but he's just one voice on the piano. Some nights he has no solos at all, but it's the Duke Ellington band, because jazz is deep democratic action in its symbolic form. Lift every voice. That's the anthem of black people, right? That's what created the democratic form of jazz, even though we in many ways have been the fundamental victims of American democracy, along with our red brothers and sisters, but embracing everybody. And that's what it's about. And when you jazz, like, you got to be self-critical, transparent, visionary, courageous, do your homework, improvisational, spontaneous, disciplined, and have a little style. That's what it is. When I stepped up here, who did I invoke? Jimi Hendrix. Come on, y'all, you know what that means. That's right, I'm not invoking an entertainer. I'm not invoking somebody to walk around with his guitar left-handed. I'm talking about a genius who comes out of a tradition of struggle that's connected to lifting his voice, embracing everybody, and at the same time dealing with the demons inside of him, even as he's trying to keep track of the angels inside of other folk. That's the Jimi Hendrix we're talking about. That's Seattle at its best. Thank you all so very much. Stay strong. Stay strong. Occupy Seattle.
Mic check.